Welcome to Perspectives. What's happening in Turkey is unfortunate. People fighting amongst each other is never a good sign, and may they resolve their issues soon. But that's not my topic. My topic is one of the statements made by the Turkish Prime Minister, an offshoot of that statement, where he referred to Twitter. And once again, Twitter and Facebook, and generally social media, is at the center, the focal point of a revolution or of conflict. It's happened in Great Britain. It's happened in the Arab world. It's happened in Occupy Wall Street, Occupy the whole Occupy movement in the United States. And social media has been attributed as a driving force of these conflicts and revolutions and opinions. My question, has social media really come of age to the point where it can turn nations and people to revolt, to have great conflicts, to come out and protest in such large numbers? Or is it just an instrument of communication? Secondly, is social media a responsible tool or a very careless tool? The integrity of social media is at question. Another news item I read yesterday was that the iPhone and the Android camera phones are taking away jobs from news photographers. By the time a news photographer delivers a photograph to the newspaper and comes out, it's already gone viral, and it's an old photograph thanks to Twitter and Facebook. Not necessarily Facebook as much anymore, but Twitter primarily. What about Pakistan? The last 2 years, various political parties used Twitter as much as possibly they could have. And it almost felt like elections were on Twitter. Just the arguments, the discussions. Very few people from Pakistan People's Party are there. Some from PMLN are there. A lot of people from PTI. I think everyone from PTI is there. A lot of people from MQM are there. ANP has a few people. So it is sort of a melting pot of politicians, movements, evangelists, spokespeople, opinion drivers. And today in studio we have four, probably for the most powerful opinion makers in Pakistan. My far right, a very dear friend, Dr. Awwab Alvi. Well, thank you very much. On my right, another very dear friend, Mr. Faisal Kapadia. Faisal, thank you very much for taking time out. On my left, again, dear friend, Sana Salim. Thank you very much for being here. And once again, another dear friend, Ms. Fariha Aziz. That's the beauty of Twitter. I think I've met all of you through Twitter, directly or indirectly. So that's that as well. Awwab, I'd like to start with you. Do you think the whole excitement and hype about social media, has it delivered in Pakistan, not just politically, as an instrument of social change, as an instrument of opinion change? Has it delivered now?
Oh, absolutely. I think I have no doubt in the fact that the social media was the exciting melting pot of opinions, and that's what ultimately I think drove the discussions on drawing room discussions as well as online discussions to a frenzy that people were engaged in elections, came out to vote. I don't say give it the entire credit to social media. Social media is just a tool, but the energy that was seen there was somehow made it so much exciting that people came out to vote, as well as and other issues. I think if you talk about protests on various issues, for example, the Shia genocide protest that happened in Karachi, a lot of these organizations were done online, and they continue to do so. I think I give it all the credit that it deserves, that social media has done some sort of impact in Pakistan. Maybe on a small scale, the volume of people are not there, but the opinion makers are there.
I was about to take exactly that, and I'm glad you mentioned Faisal. The number of people who actually, in Pakistan, or in India for that matter, is so small as opposed to the general population, do you really think it has any significant value in really changing the course of events or opinions?
Well, see, PTA says there are about 30 million plus people on social media. Companies who measure social media, who do analytics of it, who measure them by cookies on a browser session, which is to say that if you're using a browser and you're doing two different things at one time, it doesn't mean there's two people there. So they shortened that list to about 22 million people. Now, 22 million people out of our entire population is roughly about 9 to 10% of Pakistan. I think it hasn't reached a point where we can cause widespread change on social media, but it has certainly reached a point where we can ask a lot of hard questions from people who are on social media, which is the political parties that you mentioned, which is what it was primarily used as in the elections, to actually pose questions to people that could not be questioned before. Because you see, mainstream media is just one stream feedback. It's just one way. Social media is interactive. So in social media, you can't really, there's not a point where a Maryam Nawaz on Twitter can escape questions. You know, there's a point where she has to answer them, or some other politician. I'm taking her name because she's very, very popular on Twitter. But there are also a lot of other politicians, as you mentioned, from other political parties there, and they have to answer people there. They have to answer the people who voted for them there. A small fraction of which you saw in NA 250 happen. Now that was actually a small segment of Karachi using social media to get their voice out.
When you say people have to answer, in the early years, I would say, I'd go back about 6 odd years, I used to believe that every tweet or every Facebook comment has to be answered. At that time, even a blog entry has to be answered. And I have been a victim of phenomenal troll attacks, or whatever you want to call, pre-Facebook Twitter era. And I used to really get edgy, uncomfortable with people attacking me or saying things about me on social media. But very quickly I realized that the more you engage with them, the more trouble you create for yourself. And now I think I can, even if I say it myself, I am the king and lord and master of blocking people. My point, to bring to you, Sana, is politicians have not yet learned or understood that the few, not the 20 million, the few hundred, and actually maybe 100 people who actually engage on Facebook or Twitter are really irrelevant. I knew I'd get that reaction. Thank you.
Now, I don't think that for a politician that, especially when they're going into elections, they'd like to consider even one person irrelevant, which is why they wouldn't want to give that impression. And it's not only about engagement or blocking or not replying to people. That's one aspect of it. It's also that whatever you say on Twitter, if you're a public figure, it most definitely will get quoted in mainstream media as well.
Yeah.
All news channels are taking tickers from Twitter. They'll publish your tweets. They'll publish your interactions. So, I mean, it's more to do with, whatever. It's actually, in many instances, it's like a speech that you've made somewhere, which is going to be quoted. So, I don't think that we might, come to a point where political parties will have a social media strategy on how to engage, how not to. We've seen, like, one example is the State Department on how they manage their Twitter feeds. Like, they have selective timings or where one minister is going to be behind the feed and answering your questions. So we're giving you the attention, but this is the time when we're going to reply. And maybe their personal accounts will not indulge with you. Maybe we'll reach that point, but I don't think that there'll be ever a point where they think it's irrelevant, because we're talking about the point that you're making is there are very few. As we go further, there'll be more people. Hopefully, we'll have more access, not less. So there'll be more people coming online, there'll be more questions, there'll be more interaction.
When I said only about 100 people, because you can actually count them. We as a nation are not, we don't engage. We are shy, we are scared, we still haven't come out of the colonial period. We still see a politician or leader as a demigod, and we may attack them, but we don't really engage them in intelligent question answers. We would say, yeah, but we would not say, what, you did this, what's your answer, we would not engage. None of that is happening. And when I said about 100 people, I think I'm about 50 people who actually people we all know, I think, who are identifiable people, recognizable people who engage in a certain way. The rest are just hiding behind fake names, fake images, and they're not really worth the engagement. If I was a public figure and I do blog, I don't care. Unless if you have a face and a name, I don't engage. So my question is, as we go forward, as Sana said, this number will increase. I doubt that, given our national psyche.
I also don't think that the numbers, or whether they're less or more, should be. It should be a factor to discount the merit of this platform, because regardless of the small number that exists online at the moment, you have a segment of society who is pretty vocal. You'll find a lot of your journalists, politicians, etc. A lot of the opinion makers, as you yourself said, and as a traditional, journalists belonging to a traditional media, what social media changed is access. For a journalist to get through to a politician, numerous phone calls, faxes, emails, not responded to, and social media was instant access, where they know that you're trying to get in touch, other people know you're trying to get in touch, and they will respond. And as for, a lot of people hiding behind fake IDs, that is true, but then there are a lot of people who are also reaching out to them for some sort of a level-headed discussion. You may not find it too often, but that too happens. And you get a response as well. So that reverence of political figures, now that you are able to engage with them, that is also slowly sort of dying down, where you're not just looking up to figures, or you're not considering them demigods, but they're normal people who you can interact with, and you need to, and they need to be asked.
The internet has cut them to size.
Yeah.
The whole aura is gone.
Yes, to a great extent.
You said they have to respond. Why? In a lot of world, a lot of people, this is just one way broadcast. They do not engage. We have a habit to engage. The reason I gave my own example was, I used to also have a habit to engage everything. And soon you realize it's counterproductive.
I don't think it's possible, because I don't think, considering the more popular an account gets, more popular politician gets, it's impossible to engage. And the problem with Twitter is the 140 characters. You can't have a discussion.
Yeah.
You start a discussion and you stop, then 10 people respond to that, and you continue that discussion, but within that 2-minute gap, you have a train of thought and you start deviating from one side to the other. And I don't think politicians do engage, but they have to limit the engagement. I also, when you're talking about these, you alluded to the fact that the trolls are there to hide behind fake names, and I think the maturity within our educated 50 or 100 also is less, because what is happening is the fact that big name anchors retweet abusive tweets, and they fuel the fire, and the abusive account gets more confidence to actually do more and go out and keep on doing it. And especially you also. When I look at your tweet, half the tweets that you come out are blocked so and so. Why do you have to announce it? Why do you have to?
So you can block them too.
No, I don't want to block them. If he or she,
that's your prerogative.
Yeah, but I think you're actually acting as an immature Twitterer, that you're actually announcing it. I agree. I think the best way, the best strategy to take care of an abusive troll is just simply block and move on. He disappears from your timeline. You don't have to populate my timeline with your tweets. Are you saying that he's abusing you, and you're actually making a mess out of my timeline? I should start blocking you.
Put him on a list.
Yeah.
Put him on a list and take it, but don't retweet them. All these anchors who've spent a year and a half talking about these elections, all you see is engagement with abusive tweeters. PTI, the reason I'm actually telling, because PTI gets the brunt of these abusive tweeters, and they're doing it, but what I've been constantly saying for the year and a half is simply telling all the journalists who are getting those attacks is simply block, move on. Once he disappears from your timeline, you're free man.
Yeah, but see, when I gave one example from 6 odd years ago, what happens is we haven't yet understood as a people, as a nation. It's not just us. With respect, you go to any part of the world, whenever somebody flames you, and that was the word used, troll is a new word. Whenever somebody flames you, you do get personal. You feel that I am being attacked, and somebody. Then you have to realize these are just feeding off of your anger. there's a bit of carelessness with what we say. The integrity, as you were mentioning before the show, is there. And interestingly, there's one beautiful example. Somebody's actually, Mr. Al Rahman, is actually quoting me of what I'm saying, and he said, the more you engage in social media, the more trouble you create for yourself. Attributed to me, but I didn't say that during this show. I don't remember. So incorrect attribution. The point here is, one, I would like people to at least defend me. Maybe Awab says I'm immature Twitter. when I block people, I need support here. I can't be beaten down by Awab here. But the integrity.
I think the integrity of social media is basically a self-check mechanism which happens on its own. People often talk about that social media has no integrity and people just say whatever they want to. That's not true. You can, as an anchor, sit here and say whatever you want to, and nobody will be able to get back to you within an immediate timeline.
Complete blanket statement.
If I right now sit and say there's a fire outside the TV station and I tweet it, 2 seconds later somebody tweets back, you idiot, there's no fire, I just passed by. So the self-check mechanism is there on social media. So you can't blame a medium for the things that some people do. Yes, there should be a code of ethics. Yes, you should know that if you are making a story out of something, you should at least check it with a couple of different people and sources. But that doesn't mean that the medium is at fault.
Oh, absolutely. The medium is not at fault. But I'm trying to just talk about the medium in the scope of our society. We, unfortunately, as a society, you're guilty unless you prove yourself innocent. Just an accusation
But
makes
we are a very highly emotional race.
Yeah, but emotional is one thing, but there was a list which came out a couple of years ago of journalists, and Awab got the brunt when he had just retweeted, right? I mean, he became, that was his day of fame. When every judging, Dr. Awab,
One of his days.
No. But that's where it really spiraled. But I called him, I said, no, I know this man, for God's sake, don't do it. Don't take his name on TV. And I even called him, I said, no, why is your name being taken? Are you just a blogger? You just retweeted it. So the carelessness there.
I think, well, at the same time, when you talk about these tweets that emerge from certain accounts, what I believe is, I was just going on a different tangent on the sense. I was saying that Twitter itself has become an authority for many issues, and Facebook has reduced itself in authority in the sense that if you look at you scan your newspapers for the past year or so, tweets have been quoted in newspapers, not Facebook pages. Facebook pages, Facebook comments have not been quoted. So I believe within our society, within Pakistan, and alluding to the Turkish issues also, I think Twitter has gained more of substantial authority versus Facebook. And because of the fact that they know people are online, they know mature people. In the sense, I call mature in the sense that authentic accounts are online who talk about stuff and people engage with them. Forget about the trolls, etc., but I think the authority part as a Twitter...
I think Twitter-Facebook comparison is, I don't think we'll be talking about that, but yes, I would agree to that point, because Facebook has become just too noisy. You just can't control what's going on, there's just a lot of noise coming out of it. Ali Rahman is really, he says, you did say that, and as far as defending, we all lose it at times. We're human. Surely Dr. Awab will recall Farooq Patafi, and I've taken the name Farooq Patafi because Farooq is a friend, so I can take that liberty. And apparently you lost it.
No, and we settled. I mean, we apologized to each other, and we settled that score also.
Okay.
But you did lose it.
No, he took my comments out of context. That's what it is.
And took your comments out of context. Why don't we have?
And I apologize for him. I also, because I think he misunderstood what I was saying, and as I said, I think I blame the 140 characters in that context. That's what happens.
I don't blame 145. My typical tweet is about 60. The rest is mine.
Blocked, and so and so.
I need support here, for God's sake.
I'm actually complaining because I follow you, and 60%.
But you realize now, I do it maybe once every 5 days.
But you are actually populating my.
No, but I do it about every once every 5 days. You realize that now?
You guys can fight off air.
But you know why? But you know why?
Well, you have a separate show and stuff.
Because I've blocked about 70,000 people. I've blocked everyone that was needed to be blocked.
So just quite.
Now it's beautiful space. The integrity.
You have to repeat that. I lost it.
Yes, somebody before the show was saying the name. We have to talk about the integrity because people can just say anything. And both of the gentlemen said there's a self-check mechanism. I don't think there's a self-check mechanism. once you say that there's a fire outside Faisal's comment, somebody else would say, no, I just went past it. Not necessarily will that person's tweet be seen. We can still make some very, very careless remarks, very careless accusations. We can create fake photographs. And we are a believing people. We will believe it, propagate it, discuss it, and actually hurt people's, lives.
But that's been happening from, that used to happen before the internet came in. There were different mediums to do that.
But the propagation level was not there.
But yeah, the propagation level wasn't that. But if you're using,
we'll talk about that.
Firstly, if you're an anonymous account, there's a difference between an anonymous account and a fake account. So if you're a fake account spreading something, most people will, sane people will not trust you. And if you're using your name and a picture and spreading something, then you are doing it as Faisal Qureshi or as Sana Salim. So there's more of a responsibility on you. And it's not, we have a number of people that we know, this person said some rumor, and trust me, people remember. And people do. This has happened innumerable times where somebody has tweeted something about, let's say, what happened a year ago. In Zamam, there's a really unfortunate rumor about Zamam ul-Haq's death, which was, of course, a rumor. People are really, really nasty. You were talking about being nasty. Everybody tracked back to the person who had tweeted it without confirming, and now everybody knows that particular Twitter user as somebody who had tweeted a rumor about Zamam's death when he wasn't killed. So, of course, I think it's more of a responsibility if you're doing it on social media, especially if you're doing it with your own name. Because
my question is, when you as a person walk around, make statements not on Twitter, there's an integrity factor on that.
Yeah.
The code of conduct cannot be enforced on you that you are behave that. So I don't think the code of conduct is there. You're alluding to the right stuff, that it is the person's credibility himself that actually matters at the end of the day. On Twitter also, it is the person's credibility or the account's credibility that matters. If I want to spread a rumor, I can spread. The only my credibility comes in the fact is that if I can check it, if I can and undo that. So I think we should not treat tweets as a separate end. It's just a person's identity online, which should be taken in that context without the fact that there's.
But if that person is big enough to cause influence, shouldn't that person be responsible for what he's retweeting?
Of course, that person will be their credibility. Yeah.
I look at the fact that talk show hosts make a statement, but they don't retract it. Yeah. They make a statement, talk about this hoo-ha issue for a day. The entire day, the entire hour they talk about it, but next day, if it's negated, they don't come back and apologize that we said that.
Well, that's actually worse than the newspapers, who used to at least retract on the last page in the little corner. Yeah. You're right. More than once, mainstream media anchors and shows has been referred to. Let's take a short break. When we come back, I'd like to open this discussion here of how I personally believe that by somewhere around mid-2014, end 2014 max, mainstream broadcast television will take some serious damage from internet streamed content. Also, I feel that journalism is no longer what journalism used to be. Everyone is an opinion maker. Everyone is a reporter. And I think even in a country like Pakistan, where maybe social media propagation is not that deep, I give it no more than mid-2014, where this medium will be taking over any other medium. That's what I feel. Let's take a short break. Thanks for staying with us. You're watching Perspectives. Another dear friend, powerful entity on Twitter, Ms. Maria Patel, was running late. She has just arrived, and she will join us in a moment. But before we do that, let me just go. Ali Rahman, I have to concede, you were right. I did say, Faisal Kabadi reminded me that the more you engage on social media, the more trouble you create for yourself. But the context has been left. That's how I got confused. I said, the more you engage these trolls and the baddies out there, That's when you just
No,
get
you didn't use that word.
No, I did not, but that was the context.
Please repeat the word you use.
Yeah. The more you engage idiots. Maham Kedwai says, Dr. Awab, sensible rhetoric on the show. And Maham Kedwai also says, I sound calmer on the shows than in my tweets, to be fair. Interesting show. Well, thank you very much. Of course, I'm much calmer. I'm also very calm on Twitter. I just said blocked. Mr. What Me Thinks says, Nasina, What Me Thinks. Just that name means your buddy blocked. Me thinks you should deconstruct abusive tweets, present your analysis, and set an example. I wish I knew what that meant. Ali Rahman says, fairly new phenomena, social media. You guys doing a show on maturity or lack of it is testimony that we will get there. Good point. So my point, Maria, thank you very much for joining us. Sorry. You ran late. No worries. What happens? We live in this city of traffic jams and blocked roads.
No.
We talk about the influence of social media, and we talk about integrity. But now we've come to the point where we're saying old media, television, and I have been on that side as well. I'm sitting on English State Channel, which is really fantastic protective zone. But I've done Urdu, current affairs. Awab's point, blanket statements are made, general statements are made, no retraction. Will social media now be able to actually check mainstream media and bring people like me to task?
To this date, hi everyone, first. But I think to this date, what happens is that social media in general is about that. Like it is having very general comments coming up, coming from the official Twitter accounts, and seems like official statements coming up. But what happens is there's no then there's a retract, and then there's understatement which comes up, which negates the other one. So there is what I think is social media is not playing a very responsible role.
Okay.
And in the mainstream, what happens is the mainstream media is in a hurry to break the news right now. So why and how it comes? It comes on Twitter again, on social media again. They break it on social media. And for example, I just give a very random page, newspaper as a reference. Shall I name it?
Yeah,
Tribune, for instance, Tribune Express Tribune. What happens is that they break a news and they say one thing at one point in time, and they are in so much hurry to break it that they want to be like the first move. They want to be the first one to break the news. And then what happens?
Headlines change.
Yeah, and then what happens?
And
the whole context is changed. But what happens is the reader or the social media, the person on the social media, what happens is they keep referring to the old one, old page, and they do not remove the old page. So there's no social responsibility even on the masses. I don't see any social responsibility taken by anyone. No, not the social media activists are taking any responsibility for that.
Mass journalists.
Not any mass journalists taking any responsibility for that. And I think that this is one thing which everybody shall take into account of. And also what happens is that everybody is in a hurry, seems to be in a hurry to come and condemn about a lot of things. And first medium they choose is they do it on Twitter. And
it's sudden broadcast show.
Because this is like a general, it creates a lot of
outrage.
outrage.
And on Twitter, we also feel we can get away with saying whatever, so what?
But if you don't condemn, people will tell you didn't condemn, you condemn that, or you didn't condemn this.
Yeah.
You condemn the
You're
talking about chocolate and Peshawar, 2 people have died and you don't care.
Well, my question is, responsibility, that word has come up a lot in this discussion. Does the responsibility lie on the user or the platform? And that is, I think, where the confusion, so code of ethics, etc. We're also mentioning how mainstream media goes wrong as well, right? And there you have a code of ethics and editorial policies, etc. Supposedly, right? Whether they're being implemented or not is another
Are we talking about
thing.
Germany?
Do you want a code of ethics for social media now? Like you brought that up. Every user, that's my perspective, right? You act responsibly for yourself, like everybody makes your statements. You as somebody, you follow somebody, you make that exercise your discretion whether that person is credible enough to be retweeted, to be believed for what they are, writing or putting out there.
I think on social media, if you use clout.com, Cloud is a relatively decent place where you can actually have those references. What I do is on my browser I have the Cloud plugin, and every account that comes off has this Cloud score along with it. So I think with time, Cloud is still not developed to an extent that we can gauge the authenticity of it.
But it has personal discretion too. This is like the social media experts talking about it, not general masses knows about it. But my point of I don't know, bone of contention over here is that the Facebook masses are totally different from Twitter masses again. It's again the social media platforms, both are social media. And Facebook is more masses.
Sure.
Like it's more, and what happens is there is it seems like we are using it as a propaganda. Facebook looks like a propaganda
it's
platform.
An instrument, sure.
And Twitter seems like a bit decent, but now getting very massive.
I think
so. There is like.
I think the best way for social media to check mainstream media is to get your cameraman on Twitter, because they have all the goods, and that's the people that have in the recent past, leaked the real face of mainstream media.
Cameraman on Twitter? I'm sorry.
Your cameraman.
Oh,
studio.
The studio cameraman.
Studio staff on
because
Twitter.
they are the people who see what happens behind the scenes.
No,
but seriously speaking,
well, we've seen leaked dates, and I think we've seen enough of them.
Yes, but see, the thing is that if in order to act as a check and balance, speaking on a serious note, in order to act as a check and balance, social media first has to check and balance itself as well. No. Yes, we cannot. Let me finish. We cannot enforce a code of ethics, but at least we should be responsible about what we are saying. If we know that we have enough of an influence that we can make things happen. If I were to tweet one day, suddenly out of the blue, that the petrol stations in my area are shutting down, that can lead to if
chaos.
I was big enough, chaos. So you have to be responsible. You
can't
can't hide behind the fact that
I think that is the point. It's not just integrity. If Sana Salim quotes that okay, Sana is a person we know and trust. Anybody says, well, I'm in Gulistan at Johor and I just saw a truck upside down.
Yeah.
And somebody else retweeted really where. So before you know it, it has propagated enough for it to become.
No, that's not normal. That's you. No, that's your responsibility as a person of influence.
Last week, what happened was there was an incident last week that in Baldia town or Orangi town somewhere, that something like a banned militant wing is on the rampage in certain area.
There you go.
The tweets were going on about it, but there was nothing on the mainstream media. Mainstream media was acting very responsibly. Responsibility was seen there. But what happens is what the role senior journalists or the responsible social media activists played was they are asking the citizen journalists to confirm that. So that's what I've seen. But
well, citizen journalism is just really eyeballs with anybody.
No. So, firstly, can we take a step back and acknowledge that we're taking social media too seriously when we talk about...
Have you read my... we take life too frivolously and Twitter too seriously.
Because what is social media? It wasn't meant for a tool for revolution. It isn't still. It wasn't meant for a tool for politicization. It's how you use it. It is a social space. So you will have somebody...
But Arab Spring came, took
but because people were on the street and they were
that social media played its role in the revolution.
Of course it did. It's a communication tool, but Twitter didn't make people come out on the streets. People were already doing that, and they were doing it, but it amplified their voice. What I'm saying
in Pakistan for the protest, for the sit-ins,
of course
we use it.
I'm not undermining that.
What I'm saying
is, I'm just building up on what you said earlier. That are we taking so that particular incident, let me just quote what you were doing. What you did was, I'm reading a lot of tweets. I find them really disturbing, but I haven't found anything to verify that, right? So you took the saner aspect of saying, I'm not trusting tweets. That's what I'm saying. Are we taking it too seriously? Because what is the nature of the tool? It is a social media tool, right? You could be talking about poetry 1 minute and then going and asking Rahman Malik to unman YouTube the next minute and talking to Vishwa Gohar the other minute. So it's just how you use it that's what matters.
I think what's happening a lot is that people find certain things that others are saying not okay, objection, why is it in the public domain, etc. And we're all sort of exercising our judgments about what is coming out there. But the fact is, it's an organic platform. it will evolve. The etiquette evolved in our actual personal day-to-day lives that we expect that is certainly going to evolve out here on the platform.
I was putting social media in our own sphere, and my concern is it will evolve only as much as we as people are evolving.
Precisely.
And unfortunately, we as people generally have some limitations we need to work on, and social media is just amplifying those limitations tremendously. Okay, Ali Rahman has made a couple of interesting points. If you can please do touch upon the uncertainty certain tweets create. Okay, talk about the uncertainty certain tweets create where half-baked info is shared by renowned anchors, where people are known and heard, need to be a bit more responsible not to create anxiety. I like it just that. Maham says social media is used more nowadays because it's easy to be vocally high. And she says social media brings its own problems too, though it was open a floodgate of arguments. Who closes that gate? And Ali Rahman lastly says, in my opinion, one way to ensure responsibility is not to give exposure to monsters. No RTs, no response.
What happens is, like, on social media is one platform where the information comes so rapidly, and it gives you access to all the websites. There's like I have one website, hot button, where I go and I get all the information I want. Like first, Chrome even did that you have the customized page, whichever pages you want to go, or the type of news you want to have, or the type of reading you want to do, you can have it. Now, what happens is Twitter is doing it for you. After getting all the information, you get so opinionated. Like everybody start thinking that I've read it this way, or I've read it there, and this person said this way, and then how can he say it that way? So because of all of that, the mumbo jumbo, what happens is that you just don't get the exact, like you become very opinionated, but you have a very twisted views. You start getting very twisted views.
It's your fault for it's how you. So again, you go to school to become a certain way, then you go to work and there's a certain environment. So again, this is another environment that you're in.
One of the tweets that Ali Rahman said was, how do certain tweets create uncertainty?
Yeah.
I think overall, I've realized over time, and as I said, we've matured in that context, that the more followers you end up getting, you have to be a little careful in what you say and do. And that is where the burden came on me also. I mean, randomly when I was going around about a year back, foursquaring my locations quite frequently, I realized that was not the right thing, because the more exposure you get, that's
thank God for that.
But it's you have to adjust to that. I mean, and at the same time, when information comes on the fact that some incidents happened, I as my own responsibility, not as a code of conduct, as my own integrity and responsibility, I make sure I verify that. That's the credible tweets, credible Twitterers come into play, and that's where your importance rises and falls. I disagree with Faisal when he talks about having a social media code of conduct. I don't think, even if he tells me as a friend to do that, I will not listen to it, because I do not want to be bound by a social media code.
So I should not listen to you when you tell me about this.
Not the social media code.
Nobody should listen to anybody.
I think the code of conduct is you yourself, and that's it.
No, but
that's
what I'm trying to.
But the environment does control.
Yes.
There has to be the environment has to control something.
Like you just said, you have been controlled to not share your Foursquare status. That's also
is all you're saying. It's a social etiquette.
That's the term, social etiquette. We are not really harnessing social etiquette.
And I think we as a community need to really take a deep, hard look at ourselves. And journalists do this from time to time. I attended a conference today in which Zafar Abbas was taking a lot of shots at a lot of journalists at what happened during the elections and how the results were broadcast at 4:40, 4:59 or whatever, on the certain channel. And we don't do that as a community. We have all these social media conferences where you have 5 people here, add 5 more, and those are the people who get to speak. And there's no introspective look. There's no criticism on what's happening, and we don't look at hard things. We just pat each other on the back and go away. That needs to stop. We need to, as a community, look at what's wrong within us and try to correct it in a proper manner. Maybe work on social etiquette more. Maybe work on giving new people a chance more. But we need to do something.
No, we can't give people a chance. People have to take their own chance.
Yes, but you have to give them space.
I mean,
you have to give them space. If you won't let new people speak, environment, then they can't speak.
But we're talking about
No, it has got nothing to do with
But who
you.
stops people anyway?
Not
No.
everybody with a Twitter or Facebook account is citizen journalist.
Yeah, not everyone.
So not everyone is that. So we can't say you have a Twitter
Who
account
is a
or we have.
citizen journalist?
Citizen journalist is anybody that reports from the ground. So that doesn't mean that if
Anybody
I am
who opens their bedroom window, sees something, reports a citizen journalist.
yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean that at all times when I have my Twitter, I am a citizen journalist reporting something. If it's different when I'm on the spot and I report something. You can take me as citizen journalist if you want for that, and a lot of for the lack of a better word, a lot of news organizations do that. They don't want to say somebody on Twitter said it, so a citizen journalist said that. So it's not that.
We also need to write a senior anchor every now and then, a senior analyst.
For instance, an organization, a platform that Awab, me and Faisal are really, are affiliated with, Global Voices. It is a platform for 1,200 citizen journalists around the world, and it is translated into 70 different languages. And all it does is aggregates news and reactions from various, for various news sources, and also news sources that are being reacted to online. Like how are people reacting to the Egyptian Mubarak's speech online, or various things. And there are code of ethics there. There is editorial control there, because that is me as a citizen journalist reporting that. But you cannot have the same thing. As I said, you can be sharing a video on a funny kittens video on your Facebook 1 minute and talking about your political. It's your own state.
Sure.
You do it with your own representation, and if you do something wrong, that hurts your credibility. That's how it will work. And secondly, I think that we're making a lot of sweeping generalizations when we say that, the community needs to learn and they're monsters and we can't engage with these people. No, it is, we have to understand that it's the first stage of politicization for a lot of people who have never had a platform to be able to engage to people. So if they want to take out their frustration onto politicians, why not? Let it happen. Let them say that and then let them engage. I mean, for example, I'm not saying they should be abusing, for instance. I'm saying if they want to keep criticizing. For one, Rahman Malik's Twitter account, he is phenomenal in how he responds to all the abuse, and engaging doesn't only mean that you're responding to them. It also means, like, he doesn't respond to them. He'll just make tweets about them. If you're abusing me about YouTube, it's nothing that I've.
So you don't have a reference.
Yeah, you don't have a reference, but you know what he's talking about. Bushra Gohar does a phenomenal job at doing it. Sherry Rahman does a very good job at doing that. There are lots of people who engage and change.
She understands communication. I need to close this just quickly. Priya, your closing notes, and I don't have time for everyone.
So again, let this evolve. It will evolve. Don't hold a medium responsible for the actions of users. The users, again, will have to arrive at what is okay and what is not okay. And that is how we're going to progress from here.
I think I believe. Blaming Twitter as the hell, I don't think it's just a tool. You could blame the cell phone as
just an instrument. What people say, people opinion. Ali Rahman lastly said to all of you, great show, guys. Such discussion will promote responsibility.
Responsibility. Ali Rahman is the sixth panelist here.
And thanks for making me a part of it. Well, thank you for participating, and everybody else I could not include. Mahan, thank you very much. Others I could not include. My apologies. Thank you for coming out. Okay, fine. I will not block more than 500 times a day. More than 5 times a day, and I attribute this sacrifice to Dr. Awab Alvi, because I might need to go to him for my teeth at some point, and I don't want him to make a mess or block my teeth. Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you. Until next time, good night.